two young founders, one failed startup, and a pivot that shook Amazon and Flipkart. What if I told you two young engineering graduates walked away from comfortable, well-paying jobs to build a billion-dollar company, one that turned ordinary sellers into business owners and transformed a small idea into an e-commerce force that shook even giants like Amazon and Flipkart? This is the story of Meesho, a journey that reshaped India's online retail landscape and challenged the giants of e-commerce. Our story starts in Bangalore, December 2015. Vidit Atre and Sanjay Bernwal sat in a small Koramangala apartment thinking about the next step in their lives. Both were graduates from humble backgrounds. Vidit grew up in a modest Delhi household where his father worked at the Delhi Jal Board. Sanjeev's father worked at the Central Coalfields Limited in Ranchi. Both made their way to IIT Delhi through hard work and persistence. Vidit graduated in 2012 and worked at ITC and later in Mobi. Sanjeev joined Sony's core tech team in Tokyo, working on DSLR and cybershot cameras. On paper, their careers were set, but something kept pulling them towards building something of their own. In mid-2015, Sanjeev shared an idea with Vidit. After weeks of conversations, they quit their high-paying jobs and returned to India, even though their startup idea was still unclear. In December 2015, they started Fashnear Technologies, a hyper-local fashion delivery service. They worked out of their small flat, doing everything themselves, photographing products, cataloging items, even delivering orders to understand customer feedback firsthand. Soon they realized the model wasn't working. Local shop owners wanted national customers, not nearby ones. And buyers preferred large e-commerce platforms over neighborhood stores. But during those failed attempts, they noticed something powerful. Many small sellers, especially women, were running home businesses, and they were already selling through WhatsApp and Facebook. They had demand but lacked the right platform. Their first idea collapsed, but the insight they uncovered changed everything. And by the end of 2015, they were ready to pivot into the idea that would redefine how millions of small sellers come online. The first version of Meesho, which stood for Meri Shop or My Shop in English, was a platform where resellers could share product catalogs on WhatsApp and Facebook. In addition, they take orders and Meesho would handle nationwide delivery and logistics. Simple in concept but brutal in execution. Their first major pitches to investors were disasters. Social commerce is a fad, one venture capitalist said dismissively. Indians want discounts, not personal selling. This won't scale. As Vidit later recalled, people thought what we were doing didn't make sense. We were two very young entrepreneurs who had no idea how to build a company. Rejection after rejection followed. Their bank balance was running dangerously low. Then breakthrough came from Silicon Valley. In July 2016, Y Combinator, the legendary startup accelerator, accepted them into their summer batch and invested $120,000. Meesho became one of the only 3 Indian startups chosen by Y Combinator that summer, the first time they had ever selected Indian companies. The validation felt good, but celebration would have to wait. The technology challenges were immense. How do you build a supply chain when your sellers aren't professional retailers but homemakers and students? How do you ensure product quality when you're sourcing from hundreds of small suppliers? How do you handle payments, returns, customer service? The early days were chaotic. Orders would get mixed up, products would arrive late, angry customers would flood their support lines. Some nights, Vidit and Sanjeev personally called every unhappy customer, apologizing, refunding, and learning. One particular crisis nearly broke them. A large batch of sarees they had sourced turned out to be defective. Hundreds of their resellers, mostly women who had trusted Meesho, were stuck with angry customers and damaged reputations. They lost lots of money, but they kept their trust. Vidit learned something crucial during that crisis. We're not just building a platform, we are building trust with people who have never had a reason to trust before. Slowly, painfully, they refined their model. They invested in technology that made catalog sharing seamless. They built relationships with reliable suppliers. They created educational content teaching resellers how to sell effectively. And something magical started happening. By 2019, Meesho had found its rhythm, but competition was intense. Instead of joining the discount wars, Vidit and Sanjeev focused on empowerment, zero commission selling, branded superstores, training programs, and strong community support. Women began building real businesses and investor interest followed. In 2019, Facebook made its first ever investment in an Indian startup by backing Meesho with $25 million. By 2021, a $570 million Series F round led by Fidelity and B Capital pushed its valuation to $4.9 billion, with Meta, SoftBank, Sequoia, and others joining the journey. With fresh capital, Meesho began expanding into new categories, simplified its tech for first-time entrepreneurs, and became a lifeline during the pandemic as millions turned to the platform for income. Going against giants like Amazon and Flipkart, Meesho doubled down on Bharat, focusing on small towns, regional languages, and ultra-affordable pricing. They removed seller commissions entirely and built their own logistics network, Valmo, to deliver faster and cheaper. The strategy paid off. Meesho grew to 187 million annual shoppers, 1.3 billion orders, and over 500 million app downloads, becoming India's most downloaded shopping app. It empowered 15 million resellers, onboarded 1.1 million new sellers, and served users across the country, 87% of them outside the top 8 cities. Advanced AI systems handled 60,000 plus daily calls and blocked 22 million suspicious transactions in 2024, reinforcing trust at scale. From 2015 to 2025, Meesho raised approximately $1.67 billion from investors. However, Vidit and Sanjeev had a much bigger plan. They wanted to take Meesho public, allowing ordinary people to buy shares in the company. To achieve this, Meesho began preparing for its initial public offering. But here's the fun fact. Meesho became the first major e-commerce company in India to go public, even before Flipkart, which had been planning its IPO for years in advance. Today, Meesho is a household name and one of India's most downloaded shopping apps, revolutionizing how millions of Indians shop and sell. Ultimately, this story is not just about a company, it's about the people behind it and their vision for transforming commerce in India. The Meesho story teaches us a powerful lesson. Failure is not the end, but the beginning of something better. The biggest opportunities lie when nobody else is looking, and technology should help people rise, not replace them. If this story inspired you, please subscribe to DeckVice and hit the bell icon to stay informed with exclusive and insightful business stories. Comment below your biggest learning from this story. Remember, every big company started with someone who refused to give up after failing. If you're building your own startup or helping one grow, visit www.deckvice.in today for expert pitch deck creation and startup storytelling designed to attract investors and accelerate growth. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.